In this video, I'm going to show you how to install vCenter server appliances in your home computer by using VMware Workstation. vCenter server appliances is a Linux virtual machine image. First, I need to get the installer ISO image, and I have already downloaded the installer. The version I'm going to use is 6.7. I can install vCenter server appliances in different ways. I need to mount the ISO image with my CD DVD of the host machine. So I will right click on the ISO image and then select mount. Now that is a UI installer folder like this one, and I can go into that folder and then open Win32 and then run the installer exe file. This will start the installation, and if I click on install, it will first deploy the appliance and then it will go through the setup appliance process. I'm going to show you another way to install, so I will cancel this one. When the virtual CD is mounted, I will go to another folder, VCSA, and here is an OVA file, and I'm going to use this OVA file to extract the virtual machine image. So I will go to VMware Workstation, and then from File menu, I will select Open and navigate to that file, which is in the mounted CD DVD, and then VCSA, and select the VMware vCenter server appliance, and then click on Open. The import wizard starts. I will click on accept the terms and then go next. Here I will give a name to this virtual machine. I will name it as vCenter 6-7, and I will put this virtual machine in a folder. So I will browse to the drive that I have enough space. I will create a new folder and then select that folder and then press OK. So the virtual machine will be in this location, and I will go next. I will select Tiny vCenter server. It supports up to 10 VM and has 2 processors and so on. The information is here, and this is okay for home environment. I will go next. On this screen, I have to put the information for the new VM that I'm going to create. For the host network IP family, I will use IPv4. For host network mode, I'll use static. For the IP address, I will use 192.168.101.103. The ESXi servers that I already created before is ESXi 67A and 67B. 67A is using the IP address 192.168.101.101, and B is using 101.102. So for the new vCenter server virtual machine, I'm going to use 103. And for the prefix, it's /24 or 255.255.255.0. So I need to type only 24. That indicates 24 once in the subnet mask. For the gateway, I'm going to use the NAT device of VMware Workstation, and its IP is in the same network as this one, and .2. I'm using the same network address as I configured the ESXi's, and the virtual network cards in that network are in NAT mode or connected to VMnet 8 network. Anyway, for the DNS, I can use the same IP of this one. And then for host network identity, I will use the name vCenter 6-7 and .local domain. I'm not going to use a DNS server in any of other machines. So I'm going to create a temporary solution and call that domain as local domain. Now I will click on import. It's going to take a few minutes to import from the OVA file. When you install vCenter server in your network that has domain controller and DNS server, in that case, you will need to create host record for this machine. If you do not have a DNS server, like I don't have a DNS server in VMware Workstation, I'm going to use a different technique for the web browser to recognize the IP address by name. Here the username is root and the password field is empty. So you just need to press enter in the password field. If you type a wrong password once, then it might not be possible to continue. Probably you have to restart from the beginning by removing the VM and the files that were created in the respective vCenter folder. By default, vCenter Server 6.7 uses the network mode as breached, but I want other ESXi machines to communicate with vCenter, and those machines have network mode in NAT mode. So I will change the network mode of the network card of this vCenter to NAT. Before that, I will set a password. As you can see, root password is not set. So to customize the system, I will press F2. There is no old password. I will set the new password and enter in the new password field. After confirming, I will press enter for OK. The password is set. Let's check the network configuration. As you can see, it got the IP address 192.168.101.103 and its static IP. Now I will change the network mode of the NIC card to NAT. So right click on the VM and go to settings. And then select the network adapter and change it to NAT, and then OK. Next, I'm gonna go to a web browser. I can use my host computer's web browser to open the configuration interface of vCenter. I'll go to a new tab in the browser and then type in the IP address of vCenter server that I set, which is 192.168.101.103. Now the port number for vCenter server is not port 80, so I have to mention the port number, which is :5480. And press enter. I can see the security warning about HTTP, and it's okay as this is my personal computer. Go to advanced and then proceed. Now you can see that the vCenter 6.7 has been successfully installed. However, additional steps must be completed. And to complete those additional steps, I will click on Setup. Here is asking the password that I set before while installing. So I will give the password. stage 1 is complete. Now it is going to stage 2, set up vCenter server appliance, and then I will go next. If you have a real DNS server, then you will have a domain name and you will use that domain name instead here, but you have to create a host record for this name in the DNS record. I'm not using a real DNS server. So before I continue further steps here, I will fix that issue. I will open File Explorer and then go to C drive, Windows, System 32, and then drivers and etc and hosts. I need to edit this file and add some records in here. If your host machine is a Linux machine instead of Windows, you will edit the hosts file under etc folder under root directory in Linux. I will right click on this and then select an editor. For example, I will select this one. And it did open the file right here. I need to enter some records against IP address and host names that I want to use. So 192.168.101.103, and this represents the host vCenter 6-7 dot local domain. I will copy this line and I will use just host name. The first line was FQDN and here I'm using only the host name. Also, I will use 192.168.101.1, which essentially the virtual network's IP address of my host computer. I will call it as local DNS. Next, another record 192.168.101.1 and FQDN local DNS dot local domain. When I save, this notepad editor is gonna restart in administrator mode. It reopened in administrator mode, so it will allow me to save now. If you're not using notepad, what you can do is you will copy this file from here, put it somewhere else where you have permission. For example, let's say here, and then paste here. To edit this with notepad, you can press shift key on the keyboard and then right click and then select open with. And from here you can select notepad. Now the file opened in notepad. Now you can save the file. After putting these entries in the file, you can save the file in this folder. You might not have a permission to save the file in Windows, System 32, drives and etc. So after you save the file in a different folder, you copy this file and then go back to the folder and paste it here and overwrite or replace. Okay, in that way you will be able to modify the content in the host file. These records in the host file will not be reflected until I restart the host machine. So I'm gonna restart the host machine. I have to cancel this and close all other. Also, I will shut down this vCenter server. After restarting the host machine, I start VMware Workstation again. Now I'm gonna run this vCenter server. When this vCenter server is ready and I see the home screen, I will go to web browser. Now again, I'm going to start the configuration steps. So click on setup and then give the password. Stage 2, so go next. Here it did populate the information including DNS server. VMware Workstation has a gateway, and which is a NAT device, and that NAT device's IP is taken as a DNS server. However, I created a record in the host file which had the IP 192.168.101.1. So I will add that IP. For the DNS server and enable SSH from the drop down. I can also check if I can ping this machine by using name. So I will open command prompt and then ping that machine and ping that host name. And I'm getting a ping reply. So the records in the host file is working. I can close this one and then click on next. Now I will create a new SSO domain. Here a suggested domain is vSphere.local. This is not the domain that I created in host file. This is a different domain and the username is administrator, it's not root. So I will use the suggested vSphere.local and then set up a password. I'm going to use the same password for the root so that I don't need to remember different passwords. To log into this vSphere by using web browser, I will need to use this username, this domain name, and this password. I'll go next. I will skip joining the customer experience improvement program and then go next. It's ready, so there is information. I will keep a screenshot of this so that I don't forget. I'll use snipping tool to take a screenshot and save the file. Alright, I saved the file. Next, I will go to the setup screen and click on finish. Here is a warning that I cannot pause once I click on OK. That's fine. Stage 2 of the installation, which is the configuration part, is progressing. So everything looks okay. It's going to take some time. Alright, the setup is complete and I can go to the getting started page from this URL. So I'll click on close. I will go to the web browser and try to log in again. Go advanced, proceed. Here I can log in with the root account. This is the summary of the server appliances. In this screen, I can do certain administrative tasks. To start configuring these server appliances, I will type in the fqdn vCenter 6-7.local domain and then go to advanced and proceed. Now you can see that this is a different interface. I need to launch vSphere client HTML5, so I click on this. Now here I need to use the SSO username and domain name, which was administrator@vsphere.local. Administrator is the username and vsphere.local was the domain name, and password for the administrator account, and then click on login. Here you might see different warnings and alarms, and you have to acknowledge to remove this warning. Now I can add a new data center by going to the action and then new data center. I'll name it as data center 1. Next, in this data center, I will add an ESXi host. First, I will make sure that the ESXi server is running. So I will turn on this ESXi. And then go back to, click on yes. And then go back to web interface. Wait for the server to boot up completely. Then go to action, add host, and then the IP address of that host. Go next, and the username, root, password. Next. So it's not ready yet, still booting. Now the ESXi is ready. I will try again and click on yes. Click next. Next. Lockdown mode disabled. Click next and next and finish. Now I can see the ESXi host here. In this way I can add more ESXi hosts and administer those ESXi's from this vCenter server. And that is the end of this video. I hope you found this video as helpful. Thank you for watching.